Batman vs. Superman is supposed to be the flagship film of our lifetime.
They showed the logo first. They petered out every little thing until they showed the whole movie in a trailer.
Yeah, I mean, DC seems to have sort of a marketing problem, which is that they show you the whole film for free on television.
Me personally, I wasn't excited for Batman v Superman. And I saw that trailer thinking, oh, that can't be the whole movie. I put it out of my mind. I saw the movie recently, and I couldn't believe how much the whole movie was in that trailer.
Oh yeah, no, there's not a surprise to be had.
Except for going on a ship and making Doomsday with your own DNA. The things you didn't see were some of the worst things.
Like right before Winter Soldier came out in 2014, all we really had, we had a very nice Avengers film, but we had Captain America 1.
Yep.
And then we knew Captain America 2 was going to come out, and at the time that was after Thor: The Dark World, and we kind of thought that each one of these standalone movies got a mediocre sequel, and then finally a group film. That's what I thought back then. This is before Winter Soldier, before Guardians of the Galaxy, before Marvel started hitting home runs with standalone films, where you could be equally excited by a standalone film as you would a group movie, as they started to kind of build the brand. But I remember they were like, they had the gall. They were going to have Captain America 3. We didn't know yet that it was Civil War.
Yep.
And we didn't know yet how good Winter Soldier was.
Yeah.
It was gonna open on the same day as Batman v Superman. And I remember thinking that'd be like opening Thor: The Dark World on the same day as Batman v Superman. You might as well open it on the same day as Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Batman v Superman is gonna be the biggest movie of that year. And for it to fall flat on its face is kind of a shock.
It's like almost the easiest thing, right? You put these two largest properties ever, and they totally whiffed it.
Yeah, it's really not confusing what you have to do. But it seems that Zack Snyder is the one that you can lay a lot of the feet at. Well, I mean, sure, you could say the studio should have maybe reined him in or something like that. But if you hire 300 guy to make your Batman Superman movie, yeah, he's probably going to give you this. And also, folks, Man of Steel was a bad movie.
That's another movie that they gave you the whole thing in the trailer. So if you've seen the trailer, you're good there too.
Yeah.
I like that Superman Returns 2006 Bryan Singer movie.
I do too.
I like that better than Man of Steel.
I'm a little bit of a Bryan Singer apologist. Wonder Woman in that movie sucks, right? Batman v Superman.
Well,
Batman v Superman.
A, she's not Wonder Woman, and then she sucks.
Well, for some reason, everybody's running around saying she was the thing that they liked. And I'm like, what? They didn't even say the words Wonder Woman. And they're like, oh, you'll know who Wonder Woman is. No, I might not. I might be 10.
Couture dresses and had her show up at functions. And
she's just woman.
And I thought, she had very flat delivery of dialogue. Like she was struggling with the weird lines she has.
Who are you?
Someone interested in the same man you are.
Is that right?
The data you copied is military-grade encryption.
There's nothing said to me, oh, that's a compelling character.
And watching a CG version of her leap forward with a sword doesn't impress me either.
Yeah.
And playing a little electric guitar when you hint at her movie doesn't impress me either. Well, one of the biggest talking points with the movie seems to be they set up the Justice League in the clunkiest of ways and the most tacked on of ways. It's a classic issue of a studio needing something to be successful so badly that they destroy it.
Yeah.
And they're starting so far behind from Marvel that they're just stumbling on.
And we all love DC here, right? I mean,
Batman's cool.
He's the best.
He's the best.
I didn't know any
Superman's
of the
great.
Marvel people growing up. I was always a Batman, Superman.
They're just crafting things better. But Disney in general. I mean, because I would even say Marvel pre-Disney was Iron Man was kind of a fluky, awesome movie, and then they didn't do all that swell, in my opinion, until Avengers. So Disney might, they're knocking Star Wars out of the park. They're knocking Marvel out of the park now. What else? Pixar. I mean, Disney might be the studio that can teach you how to do everything.
They might
right now.
become the monopoly on entertainment, where they just beam things into our head.
Do you think DC needs to get rid of this Snyderverse and move forward?
Well, definitely.
Do you think they can?
I'm interested to see what the Ben Affleck Batman movie looks like.
Yeah, okay. I agree.
Because I thought he was a good Batman, and I'm interested, and I love his movies as a director, so I'm interested to see what he's going to do.
You want to know what I would do? If somebody said, here's the keys, you can start from scratch, you can keep Snyder on, whatever. This is what I would do. Snyder can never touch one of these movies ever again. He's leaving, right? I would, obviously the real trick is trying to find a Kevin Feige he's sort of the godfather of all those Marvel movies. It's sort of, it's basically movies as television. You need an executive producer's voice throughout all the movies.
That's right.
Keep Henry Cavill. I would keep, because it's established now.
He looks like a good Superman to me. He's in shit movies.
You wouldn't see him for a little while. I wouldn't be doing a Justice League movie for another 5 years, right?
You'd have to go back to basics.
The next thing you're going to see out of my world is a Ben Affleck versus like the fucking Mad Hatter, or like something real manageable. Directed by him, sounds like that's a good move.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of Ben Affleck Batman movies just to wash the palate away. And then I would take, I don't know anything about this Berlanti-verse, like the television Flash. But what I would do is just in the interest of doing what Marvel does, which is to kind of branch and brand into these different, into TV and on the internet and stuff, and on Netflix. That Flash that everybody loves on TV, he's going to become the Flash. And I don't care if you saw Flash for a second in Suicide Squad. It's over.
It's
new guy. And,
somebody who already people can connect with.
And then I would start doing cool team-up movies. I would do Green Arrow and Green Lantern. Yep. You'd see one of those movies. You'd see a standalone Harley Quinn movie, which I hear that they're doing. Or not a standalone Harley Quinn movie, a Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy movie. That's what you'd see out of me.
A good Thelma and Louise style.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some low-budget style. By low budget, I mean 90 mil. No more $200 million.
Not 240,000.
I would do a bunch of universe building, stuff that people recognize and they love and they can get behind, and then boom with the Justice League.
You have to show restraint, because that's what Marvel did. They showed restraint, they built the world so that it sort of makes sense when it all falls together.
Yeah, I mean, there's no catching up that needs to be done. This notion of catching up.
They looked at each movie. They're now not doing that. They now have their 45-year plan. But initially, it was just each movie. Like, who knew that Iron Man was going to be so successful?
You got to tell a good story. Like, you got to do it. You can't just be like, oh, we got to do what they're doing.
Never forget that Iron Man was kind of like a low-rate property. They didn't get around to him for a long time.
Yeah.
And
nobody really cared about
They pulled Robert Downey Jr. out of rehab and said, "You're going to do this." And
he
said,
fresh off a Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
John Favreau fought for him. John Favreau is a weird director's choice to direct a big Hollywood movie like that. So all it takes for any character is one great movie and one great casting choice. Yeah. That's all you got to do.
That's all you do.
And yeah, this notion of like, they're already at Avengers 3. We've got to do Justice League 1 by next year. It's like, no, you don't. You can do Harley Quinn movies for another 5 years. And
this does almost sound like, at this point, what you're describing is a director problem. Yeah. Is that Marvel kept going to these different directors and trying different things out and having like one main director pulling this stuff down.
Who would ever choose James Gunn, the guy who did Slither and Super
and Scooby-Doo
and Scooby-Doo
and
Troma to do Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Which is my favorite movie from the year whatever it came out.
Yeah, 14. And Guardians of the Galaxy is like, I don't even remember anybody trying to be a hipster and saying that they were a fan.
Nobody even could consider it.
Everyone admitted that they didn't know what this property was. Marvel wiped their ass with the pages of those books because those books weren't worth anything. Yeah. And now you walk into any comic book store and what do you see? You see Rocket and Groot and a whole bunch of new Guardians of the Galaxy.
You see Baby Groot's doing that fucking dance. You sing to it and it does it and it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, all it takes
Nobody buys them, but they're all sitting there and we see them.
All it takes is vision, which is, an understatement. Obviously, it takes a lot to be a James Gunn, but they took chances with their weird directors. And I always thought the worst thing in the world was like Zack Snyder for Superman, Batman, Superman and Batman, Justice League 1, Justice League 2 was like, so one guy to direct everything.
Yeah, he never successfully did anything with the series. Like, never did it. So you have to bring in somebody new. Like,
an interesting director is almost just an old trend of this. I mean, going back to like Tim Burton, like we're taking the guy from Pee-wee and we're making him do Batman. Like,
that's true.
Like say what you want about those. Everybody went over to like the Chris Nolan Batman, which is totally fine. But those other Batmans, even if they weren't whatever we wanted them to be, were amazing.
Massive
and they
successes.
did great at the time and they were massive successes.
But Christopher Nolan is a weird choice.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Christopher Nolan is it like, he had Memento, he had Insomnia, and he had, that's it.
Yeah.
And then they had him do Batman Begins.
Yeah, and he did a good story. that has Batman in it. That's what he did. He wanted to tell a story.
What they want is, I mean, if history shows us anything, it's that breakout indie successes. Beetlejuice is kind of like a breakout indie success, to some degree. Like those breakout indie successes make for great directors and interesting directors.
And they try to repeat that, sometimes with varying success.
Yeah.
And
sometimes
Zack Snyder's not. You get what you get.
Well, the Fan 4 Stick is a really good example of, like, they gave it to the guy who did Chronicle. Like, that's a breakout indie success.
Yeah.
And the guy just couldn't deal with a Hollywood movie.
No,
like, he just couldn't do it.
Studio.
And, Fox also is notoriously
and that could be, for DC or Warner Brothers, that could be
cautionary tale.
Cautionary tale.
Yeah, but maybe that's why you don't base your whole universe on this plan. Maybe that's why you give them a movie and see what happens.
That's true. I think that's correct.
It's called validation testing. You don't need to jump into the deep end of the pool where there's lava. Well, Lex Luthor is probably, if there was a fan of Batman v Superman, I bet that fan would say, yeah, but Lex Luthor didn't work. Yeah.
What about the extended fucking cut? Did that clear anything up? I don't even know.
I didn't watch it.
And can we talk about extended cuts for 2 seconds? Because there's this thing that every time a DC movie comes out, it's like, maybe they should just fix it with the extended cut. That's never a solution to me.
Extended cuts were things before movies were 3 and 4 hours long every time.
Yeah.
That was back when you got an hour and a half, and you'd be interested in the 2.5 hour cut. I can't watch a 4 hour cut of a movie now.
And I don't know, maybe it's just me. It's like, I think there's been like one time an extended cut ever fixed the movie, and maybe that was Kingdom of Heaven.
Yeah, because normally the problem that these movies have is not there was a missing scene or a missing piece of information.
It's the characters were
it's a
weak, and the
founda-
writing was weird. And
As Adam Carolla would say, you have you put up the sheetrock and you're not able to get it's a foundational problem.
if the studs aren't aligned and the studs are misplaced, then you've got to go over the whole thing with spackle.
Adam Carolla always makes like house fixing analogies. And then he overdoes the analogy to prove to you that he knows how to fix a house. Like, we get it, foundational problem.
And, Batman v Superman, people are like, oh, well, some of the things make more sense if you look at the extended cut. And I read a wiki because I didn't feel like watching a 3-hour runtime. And it makes certain things make sense, but it still doesn't make clear why Lex Luthor is doing anything. Yeah, they try to do a little motivation with the father thing. It doesn't work out because it doesn't make sense. Like, if I'm a person, I'm not going to be like, I hate God. Oh, Superman looks like God. I can't relate to that. I can relate to Black Panther, though.
And there was some kind of ritual about who gets to take up the mantle of Black Panther.
Yeah.
And when he dies, he takes up the mantle. He takes that very seriously. It's all very quick.
But that kind of helps, the fact that it's this tribal thing, and they did it very nicely, I thought.
I have a question. Do you think with all of the father setup that they did in Batman v Superman with Lex, is this just an opportunity for them to be like, go away, Jesse Eisenberg? The next Lex Luthor is going to be the dad that we've been talking about that we did not intend to use, but that's...
Let's just bring Kevin Spacey back in.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Just wheel him back in. He can be...
They're like, he
Luthor.
did great with House of Cards. Everyone loves him still.
For those of us climbing to the top of the food chain, there can be no mercy.
Why can't they just do the obvious thing that you do with Lex Luthor? Like that no movie, not from Gene Hackman to Kevin Spacey to Jesse Eisenberg, like he's supposed to be a big genius physical specimen that he's supposed to be as close to Superman as you can get if you're mortal.
Yeah.
And then Superman pisses him off because he's got an ego. That's the point of the character.
Yeah.
It's such an obvious, and then if you set that up, it does take 45 seconds to set up the motivation. Because it's clear. It's like, I'm a genius and I can bench 500 pounds.
And I used to run this town with my money and my physical
mind.
weight.
Yeah.
And now you come in and fly around.
And then that makes his relationship to Batman interesting because Batman's essentially the same person, just good. And and Superman always finds himself getting duped because he's kind of a little bit of a meathead.
I think naive is the nice way to put
Well,
it.
if you had the ability to punch a whole forest out, you probably would use that all the time. Like if you were a hammer, every problem would be a nail, sort of thing.